Hey all, welcome. Thanks for checking this video out. This video is going to be about MAOIs, specifically Nardil, and what that experience was like for me. Um, to hopefully share a bit, and I think the more people share their experiences with different medications, and not just medications, but different treatments and therapy and all those types of things, the more information we have out there, the easier it will be for people to find what works for them, because it is very specific to the individual what will work, what won't work. So let me preface with that, like, just because um, a treatment or something went one way for me does not mean at all that that's the experience you have. I go through doctors, I talk to my doctors, and that's important, um, to do things through professionals who can monitor, who can make sure that these medications or even something that you should be taking, because MAOIs particularly have a lot of interactions. There's a reason they're not prescribed much anymore. They're from, I think, like the 80s was when they came around, and they were some of the first classes of antidepressants, and um, they have certain dietary restrictions, and there are certain specific interactions with certain foods that don't happen in everyone, but if they do happen, they're very serious and can also be deadly. I was concerned about that for a long time, very concerned, but I got to a place where I had tried most other things, and maybe it probably makes sense to try other ones first. But I got to a place where none of the other ones were working. I have treatment resistant depression, and I needed to just try something, whatever else there was. Um, so I found a doctor, we talked about it, and was prescribed Nardil, or the generic Phenelzine, um, 15 milligrams of that. And yeah, that was a prescription. Um, kind of was in a place in life where I was taking Wellbutrin. I had to get off the Wellbutrin. Well, I was taking Wellbutrin and mirtazapine. I had to get off of those to try getting on, to take the Nardil. And I was just in a place where I was just kind of existing. I was better with the Wellbutrin, but it after a while I realized I wasn't motivated to work. I couldn't get any work done, and it was very tough as a freelancer, not having structure. And for a long time I didn't pay attention to it, and I got myself into a really deep hole. And things kind of, one thing led to another, and things kind of came crashing down on me. So I knew I needed to try something else, and I needed something new other than Wellbutrin. So having that depression that I was in, and the anxiety, but it was more the depression. I needed help with that. So after the first dose of Nardil, to get to the good part, after the first dose of Nardil, maybe after like 30 minutes of the first dose, I felt this feeling, um, of, the way I describe it to people is like, if you could bottle the feeling, I'm going to live my most authentic life, and I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. That is what this medication did for me. And it was such a change in me. But it was such a positive thing and feeling. And I was like, okay, let's see what this does. Um, so it was a good feeling. And from there, I started I started doing some things that I'd wanted to do for a while, towards that living authentically thing. Like, what does it mean to live authentically, right? Or what does it mean for me? I had so much anxiety about everything, about, um, especially about like things that I wanted to try for myself, about work, about being good enough at work. That's one example. Um, what having this thing called imposter syndrome at work, and never feeling good enough, always being anxious about, am I doing this right? Um, those types of things at work, and then also like social life, like whenever I'm in a group of people, also at work meetings, like the social anxiety of speaking, just even speaking one-on-one with people. Sometimes my anxiety got that bad. But like work meetings with multiple people, um, and yeah, just going out and trying to socialize with people in like different groups, different communities is very, to get me to go to like a first meeting of a new community. It's very hard with my anxiety, so it stopped me from going and doing those things. And there's like silly examples, like I've done like recreational sports leagues, for example, in the past, and but like around a sport that I felt somewhat comfortable in. I'm not like um, great, like super athletic in general. Then I got an invite for somebody else to try another sport, and it seemed like such a great, fun social group. But I had so much anxiety about playing the game, and about like, what if I mess up? What if, um, I don't want people to judge me. I don't want to let the team down. It's another example. Something else is like, for me, guitar has always been something that I like to do, and I've never sat down and really like put the consistency into practicing. So I just kind of do it for myself. I don't really know. I know maybe one or two songs like the full length, but still never the type of thing where I wanted to play in front of anybody because of my social anxiety, and never the type of thing where I even wanted to talk about it as a hobby, because I'm like, I don't want people to start asking questions, and then like I just don't feel like I deserve that label of like guitar player. But after I took the Nardil, what I realized is, basically like one of the first things I did was record myself playing guitar and post it on my Instagram. And now that might sound like, I don't know, to some people maybe like, what's the big deal? But for me, that was a huge thing. I just kind of decided that like, I like to play guitar. It makes me happy, and I see people posting their happy moments on Instagram and sharing the happiness. And I also started to understand social media a little bit more, about like people posting their happy moments, because I wanted to post. I'm like, this is something that makes me happy, and I'm gonna put it out there into the world. So some of that anxiety was removed, and I posted a short video of me playing like whatever, a minute worth of a song, and I got a positive response from friends, um, that I didn't really expect. But I got a positive response, and even from some people who played guitar and who were like, "Oh, we should jam sometime." And that actually led me to playing guitar with a friend who I've never played guitar with them. It was a positive experience, and it led to like, in my social groups, like one of the people who plays guitar, discussing it with them, and actually we ended up playing a little bit, jammed a little bit together. And these people are much more experienced and much better than me at guitar. And I was always like, well, why are they going to want to play with me? There's something to be said for just trying, and then anxiety gets in the way so much. And I realized, like, if I just try a little bit, and I don't let the anxiety stop me, and I don't fill my head with these stories about like, what is everyone going to say? Now, part of that is like realizing that, yeah, there will be people out there who have like negative response to it, right? Fortunately, I didn't really come across those people, but being realistic, that's a possibility. But the point is, this is like, focus on the good, right? Is like, don't let that potential of rejection stop you. And that's another big thing that I've always had, is like this fear of rejection, just all over the place in life. I can't even tell you how silly it gets sometimes, like the littlest things. Sometimes just like asking for, um, something like for example, like changing out towels at a hotel sometimes, where it's like, well, I already changed them yesterday and I want some new ones, and it's like you're I'm literally paying for this service. And sometimes I just don't, I'm like, when my anxiety gets that bad, I just fear rejection so much that it's debilitating. So I think that, these medications took away some of that anxiety. And what I learned too is from that experience, um, is that where I was in life, the Wellbutrin helped with the depression. It didn't really help with the anxiety. I don't think I'd found a medication that really helped that much with the anxiety. I think that's what um, the phenelzine did for me. Is it took away that anxiety finally, and I was like, this is a new world. This is a whole new world for me. This opens up so many possibilities. Um, so I kind of realized that like maybe a lot of my depression is based on that. And to be honest with you, that's my current theory, and I'm pretty sure that's a pretty accurate theory of where my depression comes from. I think in life I've just been held back so much by my anxiety that it stopped me from having all of these experiences, these authentic experiences in life, that lead to all kinds of things, right? New friendships, relationships, new job opportunities, all that stuff. And also, the other thing that phenelzine did for me is like energy wise, it changed my sleep patterns. That was a huge thing it did for me. I used to be the type of person that was a night owl that had trouble getting up in the morning, um, and would need like 8 or 9 hours of sleep to feel rested. And this medication, I started getting up at like when the sun was up at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. A lot of times, and just kind of naturally, like not setting an alarm, and just kind of be pretty ready, pretty rested to get up and start a day. Even sometimes when it was only like, when I went to bed at midnight and only had 6 hours of sleep. Um, that was also a game changer. That was a game changer in being able to get my day more structured. Um, and just that feeling, it was a good feeling to be like, okay, I'm up early, and um, started using that sometimes to like get out for a walk, just get up and have coffee, have some social time, with other people who are up early. And it really helped a lot. And what I realized is like it gave me energy that I didn't have before. Um, Now, sometimes I needed a nap in the afternoon, but overall I needed less sleep, and I was functioning and clear, like my could get things done. I had energy. So sleep patterns and energy are the basis of everything. So the fact that this improved them for me, um, was super helpful. So I took the medication. And the other thing I'll say, I won't get into specifics right now. If anyone's curious, I'm happy to share. But like my regimen of taking this medication was not the typical regimen, um, and I did have to. Basically, I had to like not take as much or like stop taking it for a little bit because it was getting. So here's where I talk about like the side effects, right? For me, it had a lot of positive side effects, but then I was realizing I had energy and I had enthusiasm about life, but it was hard to direct it at certain things. And I also noticed like I'm very self-aware about like how my brain works. I noticed like certain reward loops in my brain changed, and it might sound silly, but it's like if nothing else has changed and the only thing I did different now is the medication, why are some of these things different? And the example I give is like, I used to, as just like a distraction or a fun thing, sometimes I would want to play video games. for whatever, like 30 minutes or something, just to get my mind off something, or just to like, have an outlet. I noticed I didn't have the urge to do that anymore. And one could say, well, that's a positive thing. You're spending time on positive things. I wasn't necessarily spending time on productive things. Instead, it was just I didn't have the desire anymore to play them, and I used that as kind of like, to me, like researching how the brain works. It seems like it took away the reward loop for some activities, like the way the brain works with some of these chemicals is like, the feel good is the anticipation of doing something, and then doing it as well. And the feel good part from like me thinking about playing the game wasn't there anymore. I was like, yeah, I was just like, there's no reason for me to play the game because I have no desire to do it. And that was just the like the easiest example to pick out for me. But I think it applied to many things. I think it's applied to um, just work and motivation. And it seemed like, I don't like to self-diagnose, but it seemed like it matched patterns of symptoms of adult ADHD. Um, and I felt like I had energy, and I wanted to be productive, but I couldn't focus. And also like the reward loops for a lot of that stuff were missing. Um, so I had to stop after like 2 weeks. I stopped taking it on the regular regimen, and um, and maybe it makes sense to share this now. Actually, is like, so what I did was I stopped taking it, but the effects lasted for a long time, and I didn't really expect that. The effects lasted for months and months and months, or at least they seemed to. I was feeling good. I was engaging in life. Now, don't get me wrong. I still wasn't able to work consistently, um, but I was re-engaging in life in certain ways, like trying to socialize, trying to get things in order slowly. So at least it gave me that. I don't know if there's ever going to be a perfect in terms of medications, but it gave me something that I needed. It gave me a kickstart, and that was really what I needed at the time. Now, that's the other thing about medications is you may need something for a few months, and then you may need something else. That's why it's important to see a professional, see a doctor, know how to like check in with yourself. Um, However, whatever that means for you, journaling or just taking, you don't have to write it down, really, just thinking about how's my life going, am I achieving the things I want to achieve, what's working, what's not working, and then telling your doctor about that is super important. So yeah, so always happy to share more if anybody has comments, questions, um, about my experience. Um, and yeah, what I'll say is like medication definitely helpful. It's not without risks, side effects. So it's always like weighing those things. And if you watch my video on Wellbutrin, I talk about a little bit about side effects that I have from certain medications that are long-lasting side effects. Um, and to give you the short synopsis, like mirtazapine has caused me like allergic reaction issues that have not gone away, and I no longer take that. So there's no perfect answer. We're all doing our best, and hopefully with more information out there, it'll make it easier for people to make some more informed decisions about their care. I hope people can find what works for them. We all deserve support. We all deserve a fair shot. Um, because our brains can work against us, and I think that's what happens a lot of times in depression and anxiety. I think people deserve a fair chance at a productive and happy life. So, I'm still going through my journey. I'm sharing now. Hopefully that was intelligible, because I do have a little bit of brain fog right now from the depression. But hopefully this was somewhat helpful to you. If it was, please leave a comment. It really helps me. I'm not doing this to like make money. I'm not like right now. I'm just doing this like out of wanting to be helpful and seeing that I'm helping people, comments and things like that, or if there's questions I can answer, it would mean the world to me. If not, if you just watch and you got something out of this, I'm glad. Thank you. And yeah, I hope you're well. Be well and talk soon. Take care.